The injured dog needed urgent surgery, but the boy only had a jar of coins. When the vet heard what he'd been doing every morning for the past 72 hours, the entire staff was left speechless. The sun hadn't risen yet when Andre Davis woke up to Max's wet nose poking his face. The 11-year-old boy opened his eyes to see his caramel-colored mutt wagging his tail, ready for their morning routine. Okay, I'm up, Andre whispered, careful not to wake his mom in the next room. He pushed aside his thin blanket and sat up on his creaky bed. Max's collar jingled as he followed Andre to the bathroom. The boy's reflection in the mirror showed his sleepy eyes and curly hair sticking up in all directions. He splashed cold water on his face and quickly brushed his teeth. In the kitchen, Andre filled Max's bowl with kibble. The sound of dry food hitting the metal bowl echoed in the quiet house. He watched Max eat while drinking a glass of water, his stomach growling. "We got time for a quick game, boy," Andre said, grabbing the worn tennis ball from Max's bed. The backyard was small, just a patch of dry grass surrounded by a chain-link fence. The Arizona morning air was already warm, even at 6 a.m. Andre threw the ball, and Max chased after it, his paws kicking up dirt. "Good catch," Andre praised as Max brought the ball back, drool making it slick. The screen door creaked, and his mom appeared, already in her blue supermarket uniform. "Andre, baby, you need to help me before school," she said, tying her hair back. "And keep it down, the neighbor's going to complain again." "Sorry, Mom." Andre gave Max a final pat and followed her inside. The kitchen counter had last night's dishes piled up. Andre grabbed the step stool and started washing while his mom made breakfast. The smell of eggs and toast filled the small space. "Mail came yesterday," his mom said, her voice tight. She pointed to a stack of envelopes on the table, all with red past due stamps on them. Andre scrubbed a pan harder than necessary. He knew what those letters meant. More nights of his mom working late at her second job at the diner. Dad would have known what to do, Andre mumbled before he could stop himself. His mom stopped stirring the eggs. The silence felt heavy. Andre's father had died 3 years ago, but sometimes it felt like yesterday. The memory of him teaching Andre how to throw a baseball in this same backyard hit suddenly, making Andre's chest hurt. "Eat your breakfast," his mom said finally, sliding a plate in front of him. "You're going to be late for school?" Andre ate quickly, sharing bits of his toast with Max under the table. His mom pretended not to notice, like she always did. "Don't forget your homework," she said, grabbing her purse. "And Andre, maybe we can set up your lemonade stand after school. Weather's going to be hot today." Andre nodded. He'd been running his little lemonade business on weekends, trying to help with the bills. It wasn't much, but every dollar counted. The walk to Phoenix Public Elementary took 15 minutes. Max always followed Andre, even though he wasn't supposed to. The school security guard had given up trying to chase the dog away months ago. "Stay here, boy," Andre said when they reached the school gates. "I'll see you at 3. Max sat obediently, watching Andre join the stream of kids heading inside. A few of Andre's classmates waved at Max, who had become a familiar sight. The school day dragged. Andre kept glancing at the clock, thinking about the lemonade stand. Maybe today would be the day he'd make enough to help his mom with one of those red stamp bills. When the final bell rang at 3 p.m., Andre rushed out. Max was waiting in his usual spot, tail wagging as soon as he spotted Andre. "Come on, boy. We got work to do." They ran home together, Andre's backpack bouncing against his spine. The afternoon sun beat down on them, making the asphalt shimmer with heat waves. Andre burst through the front door, Max at his heels. He dropped his backpack and headed straight for the kitchen, where he kept his lemonade supplies in a cardboard box. "Lemons, sugar, cups," he counted out loud. "We need ice from Mrs. Johnson next door." Max watched as Andre mixed the lemonade in a big plastic pitcher, adding extra ice because of the heat. He carried his folding table to the front yard, setting up near the sidewalk where cars sometimes stopped at the intersection. "Fresh lemonade. $1 read his sign, written in wobbly letters on cardboard. The first hour brought no customers. Andre stood in the sun, occasionally sipping his own product to stay cool. Max lay in the patchy grass nearby, panting in the heat. A car approached, slowing down at the intersection. Andre straightened up, ready to make his sales pitch. But the car never stopped. Its tires screeched as it swerved onto their street, going too fast. Everything happened in slow motion after that. Max, who had dozed off in the grass, suddenly jerked awake. A cat darted across the street. Max, acting on instinct, lunged after it. "Max, no!" Andre screamed. The sound of brakes squealing filled the air. Then came the horrible thud. Andre's lemonade pitcher crashed to the ground, forgotten. He ran toward the street, his shoes splashing through the spilled lemonade. Max lay motionless on the asphalt, his caramel fur matted with blood. The car that hit him was already speeding away, leaving Andre alone on the street with his injured best friend. Max's breathing came in short, pained gasps. "Help!" Andre's voice cracked as he screamed. "Somebody help us!" But the street remained empty, the only sound being Max's whimpers and Andre's increasingly desperate calls for help. The afternoon sun continued to beat down on them, indifferent to how quickly Andre's last normal day had shattered into pieces. Andre's arms shook as he tried to lift Max. The dog yelped in pain, making Andre's heart skip a beat. I'm sorry," he whispered, tears blurring his vision. "I gotta move you, boy." Blood stained Andre's gray hoodie as he finally managed to pick up Max. The dog felt heavier than usual, his body limp against Andre's chest. Mrs. Johnson from next door came running out when she heard the commotion. "Oh Lord, what happened?" "A car hit him," Andre choked out. "I need to get him to a vet." "There's a clinic 3 blocks down," Mrs. Johnson said, pointing east. "Want me to call your mama?" Andre nodded, already walking as fast as he dared with Max in his arms. Each step made Max whimper, the sound cutting through Andre like a knife. The sidewalk seemed endless. Sweat ran down Andre's face, mixing with his tears. His arms burned from carrying Max, but he wouldn't stop. The sign for Valley View Veterinary Clinic finally came into view. Andre pushed through the glass door with his shoulder, the bell above jingling. The receptionist looked up from her computer. Her eyes widened at the sight of them. "Please," Andre said, his voice breaking. "My dog got hit by a car." The receptionist stood up. "Let me get the doctor." She disappeared through a door marked "Staff Only." Andre stood in the waiting room, blood dripping onto the clean tile floor. A woman sitting with a cat carrier pulled her purse closer to her body and moved to a farther seat. A man in a white coat emerged from the back. "I'm Dr. Richards. Put him here." He pointed to an examination table. Andre carefully laid Max down. The dog's eyes were half closed, his breathing shallow. Dr. Richards examined Max quickly, his face growing more serious with each passing moment. "He needs immediate surgery," the doctor said. "There's internal bleeding, probably a ruptured spleen. Looking at least 2 broken ribs, maybe more." Andre's stomach dropped. "Okay, do it. Please help him." Dr. Richards cleared his throat. "Son, we need payment before we can proceed. Surgery like this runs about $2,000. The room started spinning. $2,000. Plus aftercare, medications. Dr. Richards looked uncomfortable. "We need at least half up front." Andre dug into his pockets, pulling out crumpled dollar bills from his lemonade sales. "I have $7, he said in a small voice. "Please, I'll pay you back. I promise." "I'm sorry, but we can't." The door chimed again. Andre's mom burst in, still in her supermarket uniform. "Andre, Mrs. Johnson called me at work." She saw Max and covered her mouth. "Oh no." "Mom, they want $2,000, Andre said, his voice cracking. "They won't help Max without money." His mom turned to Dr. Richards. "Can we work something out? A payment plan?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. We've had too many people skip out on payments. It's hospital policy." Dr. Richards stepped back from the table. "There's another clinic on the west side that might be more flexible with payment terms." Andre's mom grabbed his shoulder. "Come on, baby. We'll try somewhere else." "But Max, we have to move him, Andre." Picking up Max again felt like lifting a mountain. The dog had stopped whimpering, which scared Andre more than the cries of pain. The bell chimed as they left. Andre heard Dr. Richards call someone to clean the blood off his floor. "The other clinic is 20 minutes away," his mom said, leading the way to her old Honda. "I left Karen in charge at work. Told her it's a family emergency." They laid Max across the back seat. Andre climbed in next to him, holding his head steady. The car smelled like copper from the blood. Every bump in the road made Max twitch. "He's gonna be okay, right?" Andre asked, his voice small. His mom didn't answer. She was counting under her breath. Andre recognized it as her way of calculating bills in her head. Westside Animal Hospital was bigger than the first clinic. The parking lot was half full. This time, they were taken to an exam room right away. A young vet named Dr. Martinez examined Max while Andre and his mom waited. "The internal injuries are severe," Dr. Martinez said after what felt like hours. "He needs surgery immediately, but—" She trailed off, looking at Andre's mom. "How much?" his mom asked tiredly. $3,000. "The injuries are complicated, and he'll need intensive care after." Andre watched his mom's face fall. 3,000 might as well have been 3 million. "I have money," Andre said suddenly, thinking of his coin jar at home. "In my room." His mom touched his shoulder. "Baby, we gotta go get it," Andre insisted. "It's for my birthday and Christmas, and the lemonade stand." Dr. Martinez spoke gently. "We can keep him comfortable for now, give you some time to figure things out. But he needs surgery within 48 hours. After that." They didn't need her to finish the sentence. The drive home was silent except for Max's labored breathing. Andre ran inside as soon as they parked, heading straight for his room. The coin jar sat on his dresser, half full of quarters and dimes. Andre dumped it on his bed, hands shaking as he counted. $43.75. He sat on his bed, the coins cold against his palms, and started crying. Real crying, the kind that made his whole body shake. Through his tears, he looked at the photo on his nightstand, him and Max on his 8th birthday, both of them grinning at the camera. His dad had taken that picture just months before the cancer took him. "I'm not losing you too," Andre whispered to the photo. "I'm not." From downstairs, he heard his mom on the phone, her voice tight as she asked about loan options. Each "no" she received echoed through the house. Andre picked up a quarter from his bed. It wasn't enough. Not even close. But it was something, and maybe, if he could figure out how to turn $43 into $3,000 in less than 48 hours, it would be enough to save his best friend's life. Andre didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table until dawn, scribbling numbers on notebook paper, trying to make the math work out differently. The kitchen clock ticked. 5:47 a.m. His mom came downstairs in her uniform, stopping when she saw him. "You been up all night?" Andre nodded, pushing his calculations toward her. "If I sell 50 cups of lemonade per hour for 12 hours at $2 each..." She picked up the paper, her tired eyes scanning his messy handwriting. "Baby, I could do it, Mom. I just need to make more signs, maybe add cookies or something." His mom sat down heavily in the chair across from him. "Andre, listen to me. Dr. Martinez said Max is stable for now. Maybe we should..." She swallowed hard. "Maybe we should think about saying goodbye." "No." Andre stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "Don't say that. We can't afford. Dad wouldn't give up." The words exploded out of him. "He'd find a way." His mom's face crumpled. Andre immediately regretted his words. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean..." "Get your supplies ready," she said, standing up. "I'll drive you to the store before my shift. You need lemons, right?" 20 minutes later, they were at the discount grocery store. Andre calculated everything carefully: lemons, sugar, cups, ice. He even bought poster board for new signs. "That's $18.42, the cashier announced. Andre counted out his coins carefully. Each quarter felt precious now. His mom dropped him off at home on her way to work. "Mrs. Johnson said she'd check on you. Don't stay out in the sun too long." Andre dragged his folding table to the busiest corner near their house. His new sign read, "Lemonade $2. Help save my dog Max." The morning sun climbed higher. Cars passed. No one stopped. At 10 a.m., a man in a business suit walked by. Andre straightened up. "Would you like some lemonade, sir? It's for my dog. He needs surgery." The man didn't even look at him. By noon, he'd sold 3 cups. $6. Andre's throat felt tight as he calculated how many more hours it would take at this rate. Mrs. Johnson came out with a sandwich for him. "Any luck?" Andre shook his head. "Maybe try the park," she suggested. "More people there." Andre packed up his supplies in his red wagon and walked the 6 blocks to Phoenix Community Park. His arms ached as he pulled the wagon up the small hill. He set up near the playground, where parents watched their kids on the swings. A woman approached with 2 small children. "How much?" $2, Andre said hopefully. She frowned. $2 for lemonade? "It's for my dog," Andre explained quickly. "He got hit by a car and needs surgery, and if he doesn't get in the next 2 days, sorry, honey. That's too much for lemonade." She walked away, her children whining for the ice cream truck instead. The afternoon dragged on. Andre's skin felt hot and tight from the sun. He'd made $28 when the park security guard told him he needed a permit to sell there. Walking home, pulling his wagon through the dying light, Andre felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. He stopped at Westside Animal Hospital on his way back. The receptionist recognized him. "Can I see him?" Andre asked. "Just for a minute." They let him into the kennel area. Max lay in a large cage, connected to an 4. His eyes were closed. "Hey, boy." Andre's voice cracked. "I'm trying. I swear I'm trying." Max's tail thumped weakly against the cage floor. "I made some money today," Andre continued, pressing his hand against the cage. "Not enough yet, but I'm not giving up. You hear me? Don't you give up either." A tech came to tell him visiting hours were over. At home, Andre dumped out his earnings on the kitchen table. $28 from the day, plus his savings. $71.75 total. Not even close to $3,000. His mom found him asleep at the table when she got home from her second job at midnight. She carried him to bed like she used to when he was smaller. Andre dreamed of Max chasing the tennis ball in their backyard. But in the dream, Max kept running, getting further and further away until Andre couldn't see him anymore. He woke up gasping, his pillow wet with tears. The clock read 3:17 a.m. Andre got up and went to his window, looking out at the dark street. Somewhere out there, Max was in a cage, counting on him. He thought about his dad's last days in the hospital, how he'd made Andre promise to be strong, to never give up when things got hard. "I'm trying, Dad," he whispered to the darkness. "But I don't know how to fix this." The stars blinked back at him, silent and distant. Andre went to his dresser and pulled out his dad's old baseball cap. It still smelled faintly of him. He put it on, adjusting the strap like his dad used to do for him. "I promise, Max," he said out loud. "Whatever it takes." He sat at his desk and started making new signs. If the lemonade stand wasn't enough, he'd need to think bigger. The sound of his pencil scratching against paper filled the quiet house as he worked through the night, planning and calculating, refusing to let the impossible odds defeat him. Outside his window, the sky began to lighten. Another day was beginning, and with it, the clock kept ticking down on Max's chance for survival. The morning sun hadn't risen when Andre stepped out of his house, pulling his wagon loaded with supplies. His dad's baseball cap sat firmly on his head as he walked past his usual corner. Today would be different. It had to be. He'd mapped out a route through 5 different neighborhoods, marking spots where people might stop. Near office buildings, shopping centers, parks. His new signs read, "Lemonade and CAR Wash. Saving my best friend." The first stop was the parking lot of Johnson's Grocery. Andre set up his stand just as employees started arriving for their morning shifts. "Fresh lemonade?" he called out. "Also washing cars. Please, it's for my dog's surgery." A few people glanced his way. Nobody stopped. 2 hours passed. $3 in his pocket. "You can't sell here, kid," a security guard finally told him. "Store policy." Andre packed up quietly, pushing down the urge to cry. Crying wouldn't save Max. He pulled his wagon 6 blocks to the next spot, an office complex with a busy parking lot. His arms ached from the weight of the water jugs and supplies. A group of older boys lounged near the entrance. Andre's stomach tightened as he walked past them. "Hey, look at the baby businessman," one of them called out. Andre kept walking, looking for a good spot to set up. "I'm talking to you, kid." The biggest boy, wearing a red basketball jersey, stepped in front of Andre's wagon. "Please," Andre said quietly. "I just need to make some money." "Oh yeah." Red jersey grabbed Andre's money jar. $3 clinked inside. "This all you got?" "That's for my dog's surgery." Andre reached for the jar. Red jersey held it higher. "Surgery?" "Man, it's just a dog. Get a new one. Something hot and fierce exploded in Andre's chest. Give it back. He lunged for the jar, but Red Jersey tossed it to one of his friends. They started playing Keep Away, laughing as Andre jumped and grabbed at air. The jar slipped through someone's fingers. It shattered on the pavement. Coins scattered across the hot asphalt. Andre dropped to his knees, scrambling to pick them up. Hey! A deep voice boomed across the parking lot. What's going on here? An old man with a cane was hobbling toward them. The boys scattered. Andre kept picking up coins, his hands shaking. You okay, son? The old man reached him. Yes, sir, Andre mumbled, not looking up. The man lowered himself carefully to help gather the money. I've seen you around. You're Gloria Davis's boy, aren't you? Andre looked up, surprised. You know my mom? Used to work with your daddy at the factory. The old man's eyes crinkled. I'm Mr. Wilson. Your daddy helped me get my pension sorted out before he passed. Andre's throat tightened at the mention of his father. What's all this about? Mr. Wilson gestured at the wagon. The whole story spilled out. Max, the accident, the surgery money, the deadline. Once Andre started talking, he couldn't stop. Mr. Wilson listened quietly. When Andre finished, the old man pulled out his wallet. I can't give you much, he said, extracting a $20 bill. Social Security only goes so far. But your daddy would have done the same for me. Thank you, sir, Andre whispered, holding the bill like it was made of gold. There's a car wash 3 blocks that way, Mr. Wilson pointed. Owner's name is Pete. Tell him Frank Wilson sent you. Maybe he'll let you set up there. Andre nodded, carefully putting the $20 in his pocket. The car wash turned out to be a small family business. Pete, a big man with tattooed arms, listened to Andre's story. Frank Wilson, huh? Pete scratched his beard. All right, kid, you can use that corner of the lot. But I take 20% of whatever you make. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. Andre set up his stand again. The sound of the automatic car wash provided a constant background noise. Around noon, a woman in a white SUV stopped. How much for a wash? She asked. $10, Andre said quickly. I'll make it shine. She looked skeptical, but handed him a 10. Make it quick. Andre worked faster than he ever had, scrubbing the car until it gleamed. The woman seemed impressed. Good job, she said, giving him an extra $5. Word spread. By mid-afternoon, Andre had washed 6 cars. His arms burned from scrubbing, but his money jar felt heavier. At 4 p.m., he packed up and walked to Westside Animal Hospital. The receptionist knew him now. How is he? Andre asked. Dr. Martinez came out to talk to him. Her face was serious. The pain meds are helping, but he's not eating, she said gently. We need to do the surgery soon, Andre. Tomorrow at the latest. Andre dumped out his earnings on the counter and counted $97. Dr. Martinez watched him count. That's more than yesterday, but not enough. Andre's voice cracked. Can I see him? Max was awake this time. His tail wagged weakly when he saw Andre. Just one more day, boy, Andre whispered through the cage. I'm going to figure this out. Max whined softly. Walking home in the dark, Andre did the math again. He had about $170 total now. Not even close to enough. His phone buzzed, a text from his mom. Working late again. Leftovers in fridge. Love you. Andre stopped at the corner where Max got hit. The bloodstain was still visible on the asphalt. He thought about what Red Jersey said. It's just a dog. But Max wasn't just a dog. Max was there when Andre's dad died, sleeping under his bed every night while Andre cried himself to sleep. Max waited for him after school every day, making sure he got home safe. Max was family. Andre pulled his dad's baseball cap lower over his eyes and walked home, his empty wagon rattling behind him. Tomorrow was his last chance. Andre's alarm buzzed at 5 a.m. His body ached from yesterday's car washing, but he forced himself up. The school bus wouldn't come for another 3 hours. He stared at his backpack, then at his wagon full of supplies. Sorry, Mom, he whispered, leaving the backpack on his bed. The morning air was cool as he pulled his wagon to Pete's car wash. His stomach growled. He'd skipped breakfast to save time. Pete was already there opening up. Early bird, huh? Yes, sir. Got a lot to do today. Your mom know you're here? Andre looked at the ground. Pete sighed. Not my business, I guess. Just don't make me regret this, kid. The morning rush brought more customers than yesterday. Andre moved fast, washing cars until his arms felt like lead. At 8:15, his phone buzzed. Mom calling. Andre let it go to voicemail. Another buzz. A text, school called. Where are you? His fingers shook as he typed. I'm sorry. I have to try. The phone rang again. And again. Andre turned it off. By noon, he'd made $60. His shirt was soaked with sweat, and his hands were red from scrubbing. A black Mercedes pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Dr. Richards from the first vet clinic. Andre's heart stopped. I almost didn't recognize you, Dr. Richards said, looking uncomfortable. How's your dog? Dying, Andre said flatly. Because you wouldn't help him. Dr. Richards flinched. Look, son, I have bills to pay too. Rules are rules. Wash your car, sir. Andre's voice was hard. $10. The vet drove away without another word. Around 2 p.m., Andre's vision started blurring. The heat pressed down like a weight. Kid, Pete appeared with a bottle of water and a sandwich. Take a break before you pass out. Andre shook his head. Can't. Max needs. Eat. That's not a request. Andre sat in the shade, forcing down bites of the sandwich. His hands trembled. How much you need? Pete asked. $3,000. For the surgery? Pete whistled low. How much you got? Andre counted his current earnings. About $230 total. Listen, kid, don't. Andre stood up. Don't tell me it's impossible. A screech of tires made them both turn. Andre's mom's Honda pulled into the lot. Andre Davis. She got out, still in her supermarket uniform. What are you thinking? Mom, do you know how scared I was? The school calling, you not answering your phone? I had to try. Andre's voice cracked. They're going to put him down if we don't get the money by tomorrow. His mom's anger crumbled. She pulled him into a hug. Baby, you're burning up, she said, feeling his forehead. How long you been out in this sun? I'm fine, Andre muttered, but the world was starting to spin. No, you're not. She turned to Pete. Thank you for watching him, but we're done for today. Wait. Andre tried to pull away. Mom, please. Just a few more hours. You're sick, Andre. You need rest. Max needs me, and I need you alive. His mom's voice broke. I can't lose you too. The fight drained out of Andre. He let his mom lead him to the car. Pete helped pack up his supplies. Kid made about 80 today, he said, handing the money to Andre's mom. Minus my cut. The drive to Westside Animal Hospital was silent. Andre pressed his hot forehead against the cool window. Dr. Martinez met them in the waiting room. Her face said everything. He stopped eating completely, she said gently, and his breathing is getting worse. If we don't do the surgery by tomorrow morning, I have $230, Andre said weakly. Please. It's everything I have. The vet knelt in front of him. I'm so sorry, Andre. But even if we started the surgery, the aftercare alone costs more than that. It wouldn't be fair to start something we can't finish. Can I see him? They led him into the kennel area. Max lay motionless in his cage, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Hey, boy. Andre's voice broke. I tried so hard. Max's eyes opened slightly. His tail gave one weak thump. Andre pressed his face against the cage bars. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His mom found him there 10 minutes later, crying silently. Come on, baby, she said softly. You need to rest. I can't leave him. Just for tonight. Well, we'll figure something out in the morning. Andre knew what that meant. There was nothing left to figure out. At home, his fever spiked. His mom made him take medicine and go to bed. I failed him, Andre whispered as she tucked him in. I failed Dad too. No, baby. His mom's eyes were wet. You showed more strength these past few days than most grown folks have in their whole lives. Your daddy would be so proud. Andre turned toward the wall, clutching his dad's baseball cap. The fever brought strange dreams. He saw Max running through endless hospital corridors. He saw his dad standing at the end of a long tunnel, holding Max's leash. He tried to reach them, but they kept getting further away. He woke up crying out, drenched in sweat. The clock read 11:47 p.m. Tomorrow morning, they would put Max to sleep. Andre got out of bed, his legs shaky. He went to his window and looked up at the stars. "Please," he whispered. "Someone help us?" The stars blinked back, silent as ever. Andre's fever hadn't broken by morning. His head pounded as he pulled on his clothes, his movements slow and clumsy. "You're not going anywhere," his mom said from his doorway. "They're going to kill him, Mom." She sat on his bed. "Andre, you can barely stand. Then help me." He looked at her, his eyes bright with fever. "Please." His mom was quiet for a long moment. "Let me call work first." They drove to Pete's car, wash one last time. The morning sun hurt Andre's eyes. "You look terrible, kid," Pete said when they arrived. Andre started setting up his supplies, his hands shaking. "No." Pete stopped him. "Not today. You're sick. But I've got a better idea." Pete pointed to the main car wash building. "You sit in the office, make change for customers. Your mama can help folks at the vacuum stations. I'll handle the washing." It wasn't much, but it was something. Andre sat at the counter, his dad's baseball cap pulled low. Every movement made his head spin. Around 10 a.m., a familiar truck pulled in. Andre squinted through the window. "That's Mr. Rodriguez," he said. "Dad's old foreman." The man was paying at the vacuum station when he did a double-take at Andre's mom. "Gloria?" Mr. Rodriguez walked over. "Is that you?" "Hello, Jim." She smiled tiredly. "Haven't seen you since—" He trailed off. "How you holding up?" "Getting by." She glanced at Andre through the window. "Actually, we're in a tough spot." Andre watched through the glass as his mom explained everything. Mr. Rodriguez kept nodding, his face serious. "How much you still need?" he asked finally. "About 2,700, she said quietly. "I know it's impossible." Mr. Rodriguez scratched his chin. "Michael, your husband, he saved my boy once. Remember? That accident at the factory?" Andre's mom nodded. "Never got to pay him back properly." Mr. Rodriguez pulled out his wallet. "I could do 500. It's not enough, but—" Andre's hands started shaking again, but not from fever this time. By lunch, word had spread. More of his dad's old co-workers showed up. None could give much, but every bit helped. Andre's phone buzzed. "Dr. Martinez." "Andre?" Max took a turn. "We need to make a decision soon." The room spun. Andre grabbed the counter to stay upright. "How? How soon?" "A couple hours at most." Her voice was gentle. "I'm sorry." Andre hung up and counted their total again. $970. Still not enough. Not even close. His fever made the numbers swim on the page. The edges of his vision went dark. "Andre?" His mom's voice sounded far away. "Baby, you okay?" The floor rushed up to meet him. He woke up in the car wash office, lying on Pete's old couch. Someone had put a cold cloth on his forehead. "What happened?" "You passed out," his mom said. "We're taking you home?" "No." Andre tried to sit up. "Max is running out of time," she finished softly. "I know, baby, but you're burning up. We have to." "No." Andre stood swaying. "Take me to the hospital." "Andre, please, Mom. One last try." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. The drive to Westside Animal Hospital felt like a dream. Andre's fever made everything blur together. Dr. Martinez met them in the lobby. "Andre, you look terrible. Where's Dr. Thompson?" "The chief surgeon?" "He's in his office," but Andre was already walking, using the wall for support. His mom and Dr. Martinez followed. The office door was open. Dr. Thompson sat at his desk, reading charts. "Sir?" Andre's voice was barely a whisper. The surgeon looked up. "Can I help you?" Andre took off his dad's baseball cap, clutching it in shaking hands. "My name is Andre Davis. My dog Max is dying because I'm too poor to save him." Dr. Thompson's face softened. "Ah, the hit-and-run case. I have $970. Andre pulled out the crumpled bills. "It's not enough. I know it's not enough. Son, I've tried everything." Andre's voice cracked. "I sold lemonade. I washed cars. I skipped school. I got sick. My dad's friends helped. But it's not enough." He took a shaky step forward. "Max is all I have left of my dad. He died 3 years ago, but Max remembers him. Max was there every night when I cried. He walks me to school every day. He's not just a dog. He's my best friend." Andre's legs gave out. Dr. Thompson caught him before he hit the floor. Please, Andre whispered. I'll work. I'll clean kennels. I'll do anything. Just please don't let him die. The office was silent except for Andre's ragged breathing. Dr. Thompson helped him to a chair, then looked at Andre's mom. How long has his fever been this high? Since last night, she said. He wouldn't rest. Kept trying to earn more. Dr. Thompson was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Martinez, he said finally, get Max prepped for surgery. Andre's head snapped up. But the money you have will cover the medications and aftercare. Dr. Thompson held up a hand when Andre tried to speak. The surgery itself will be pro bono. What does that mean? Andre asked weakly. It means free, baby. His mom's voice broke. He's going to help Max. The room spun again, but for a different reason this time. Really? Andre could barely speak. 3 conditions. Dr. Thompson held up 3 fingers. 1. You go home and rest until that fever breaks. 2. When you're better, you come work weekends here, cleaning kennels like you offered. 3. You stay in school. No more skipping, no matter what. Deal? Andre nodded, tears rolling down his face. Dr. Martinez will call with updates. Dr. Thompson stood up. Now go home, Andre. Let us help your friend. Andre's mom had to practically carry him to the car. The last thing he saw before they left was Max being wheeled into surgery, Dr. Thompson already scrubbing in. He's gonna live, Andre mumbled as his mom drove home. He's really gonna live? Yes, baby. She wiped her eyes. Thanks to you. Andre fell asleep before they reached home, still clutching his dad's baseball cap, a small smile on his face. The darkness was finally giving way to dawn. Andre slept through the first 3 hours of Max's surgery. His fever finally broke around sunset, leaving his sheets damp with sweat. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was his mom sitting in his desk chair, phone in hand. Any news? His voice was hoarse. Dr. Martinez called twice. He's still in surgery. Andre tried to sit up. His arms felt like wet noodles. How long? 5 hours so far. She helped him lean against the headboard. Dr. Thompson found more internal damage than they expected. Andre's stomach twisted. But he's going to be okay, right? They're doing everything they can. She touched his forehead. Fever's down at least. The house phone rang, making them both jump. His mom rushed to answer it. Andre could only hear her side of the conversation. Yes, he's awake. Better. Really? Oh, thank God. She came back, wiping her eyes. Mom? He made it through surgery. She sat on his bed. Dr. Thompson said it was touch and go for a while, but he's stable now. Andre let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Can we see him? Tomorrow. He needs to rest tonight, and so do you. But Andre couldn't sleep anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Max on that operating table. Around midnight, his mom brought him soup and his antibiotics. Dr. Martinez called again, she said as he ate. Max is responding well to the medications. She said he even wagged his tail a little when they checked on him. Andre smiled for the first time in days. You know what Dr. Thompson told me? His mom continued. He said he's never seen anyone fight so hard for their dog. I had help, Andre said quietly. Pete, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Rodriguez. And you know why they helped? She touched his dad's baseball cap, still on Andre's bedside table. Because they remembered how your daddy always helped them. Kindness comes back around, baby. Andre thought about that as he finished his soup. The next morning, his mom drove them to the animal hospital. Andre's legs still felt shaky, but he refused to use a wheelchair. Dr. Martinez met them in the recovery ward. Someone's excited to see you. She led them to a large kennel in the corner. Max lay on thick blankets, his chest and leg heavily bandaged, and 4 drip connected to his front paw. But his tail started wagging the moment he saw Andre. Hey, boy. Andre knelt by the cage, pressing his hand against the bars. You did it? Max tried to lift his head. Easy, Dr. Martinez warned. He needs to stay still while the incisions heal. Does it hurt? Andre asked. We've got him on good pain medication. He's mostly just tired from the anesthesia. Dr. Thompson appeared behind them, still wearing his surgical scrubs. The surgery took longer than expected, he said. His spleen was lacerated in 2 places, 3 broken ribs, and his left hip was dislocated. But he's young and strong. He should make a full recovery. Andre stood up, his legs trembling slightly. Thank you, sir. I don't know how to. Dr. Thompson held up a hand. Thank me by keeping your end of the deal. Rest until you're better, then we'll talk about your weekend work schedule. Yes, sir. Andre turned back to Max's cage. When can he come home? At least a week, Dr. Martinez said. We need to monitor him for complications and start physical therapy. Can I visit? Every day after school, Dr. Thompson said pointedly. Not during school? Andre nodded, understanding the message. They stayed for an hour, Andre sitting cross-legged by Max's cage, talking softly to him while the dog drifted in and out of sleep. His body needs rest to heal, Dr. Martinez explained. The next 48 hours are critical. But he's going to live? Andre needed to hear it again. Thanks to you, yes? She smiled. Most people would have given up. He never gave up on me. Andre touched Max's paw through the bars. After Dad died, I didn't want to talk to anyone. But Max, he just knew, you know. He'd put his head on my lap and stay there until I felt better. Dr. Martinez wiped her eyes quickly. We'll take good care of him, Andre. I promise. When it was time to leave, Max whined softly. I'll be back tomorrow, Andre promised. You focus on getting stronger, okay? In the car, his mom was unusually quiet. What's wrong? He asked. I've been thinking, she said, about what you said to Dr. Thompson yesterday. About being too poor to save Max. Andre looked down at his hands. Baby, look at me. She stopped at a red light. We might not have much money, but we're rich in ways that matter. Look how many people came together to help us. That's not poverty. That's community. Andre thought about Pete sharing his lunch, Mr. Wilson standing up to the bullies, Mr. Rodriguez remembering a debt to his father. Your daddy used to say wealth isn't what's in your wallet, his mom continued. It's what's in your heart. You proved that these past few days. They drove past the corner where Max was hit. The bloodstain had been washed away by recent rain. I was so scared, Andre admitted. Not just of losing Max, but of disappointing Dad. Michael would be so proud of you. His mom's voice was thick with tears. You never gave up, no matter how hard it got. That's all he ever wanted for you. When they got home, there was a surprise waiting on their porch. Is that? Andre stepped closer. A brand new wagon sat there, much bigger than his old one, with a note attached for my best car washer. Rest up, kid. Your job will be waiting when you're better. Pete Andre ran his hand over the wagon's smooth red paint. See? His mom smiled, rich in all the ways that matter. That night, Andre slept better than he had in days. He dreamed of Max running in their backyard, whole and healthy, while his dad watched from the porch, smiling. When his phone buzzed at 2 a.m., his heart nearly stopped. But it was just Dr. Martinez sending a photo. Max sleeping peacefully in his kennel, his tail slightly blurred from wagging when she approached. Our night nurse says he's doing great, her text read. Sweet dreams, Andre. Andre hugged his phone to his chest, grinning in the darkness. The miracle wasn't just that Max would live. The real miracle was discovering how many angels walked among them, disguised as car wash owners, factory workers, and veterinarians. His dad had been right all along. Andre's first day back at school felt strange. Word had spread about what happened, and kids who'd never spoken to him before stopped to ask about Max. Is it true you washed cars for 3 days straight? Tommy from math class asked. Pretty much, Andre said, opening his locker. And you got a real job at the animal hospital? Andre nodded, pulling out his books. That's cool, Tommy said. Hey, if you start your lemonade stand again, I'll buy some. More kids made similar offers throughout the day. His English teacher, Mrs. Peterson, even asked him to write about his experience for class. Sometimes the best stories are the ones we live through, she said. After school, Andre rushed to Westside Animal Hospital. Dr. Martinez was waiting for him. Someone's been watching the door all day, she said, leading him to recovery. Max's tail started thumping against his blanket the moment Andre appeared. Hey, boy. Andre knelt by the cage. Look what I brought. He pulled out Max's favorite tennis ball, holding it where Max could see it. Something to work toward, he explained to Dr. Martinez. For when he's better. She smiled. Speaking of work, Dr. Thompson wants to see you. Andre found the chief surgeon in his office, reviewing charts. Ah, Andre. Feeling better? Yes, sir. Ready to start working. Dr. Thompson put down his papers. Good, because we have a busy weekend ahead. 5 dogs need baths, 10 kennels need cleaning, and there's a stack of folders that need filing. I'll do whatever you need. One more thing. Dr. Thompson's face grew serious. We had 3 more cases this week. Families who couldn't afford emergency care. Andre's chest tightened, remembering how that felt. So, Dr. Thompson continued, we're starting a fund for families like yours. Would you be interested in helping manage it? Andre blinked. Me? You keep track of donations, help organize fundraisers. Consider it part of your job here. But I'm just a kid who raised almost $1,000 in 3 days. Dr. Thompson smiled. That's more than some of our adult fundraisers manage in a month. Andre thought about it. Could we do a car wash sometime? I know a good car washer who might help. Dr. Thompson winked. Now, about those kennels. The next few days fell into a new routine. School, then hospital visits, then homework while keeping Max company. Dr. Martinez started Max's physical therapy, helping him stand for short periods. The hip's healing well, she told Andre. But he'll need to rebuild his strength slowly. Andre watched as Max took his first shaky steps, wobbling like a newborn puppy. That's it, boy, he encouraged. You can do it. By the end of the week, Max could walk the length of the recovery ward with support straps. He's pushing himself too hard, Dr. Martinez warned. Just like someone else I know. Andre grinned. He couldn't help feeling proud. Weekend work at the hospital turned out to be more fun than he expected. The other dogs greeted him like an old friend, and even the grumpiest cats seemed to tolerate him. You've got a gift, Sarah, one of the vet techs told him. Animals trust you. His mom came to pick him up after his first full shift. How'd it go? She asked. Great. Dr. Thompson says I can help with the fundraising committee, and Sarah taught me how to give medicine to cats. And he stopped, noticing his mom's eyes were wet. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, baby. She smiled through her tears. Just remembering how your daddy always said you do great things. The following Monday, Pete stopped by the hospital. How's the patient? He asked. Getting stronger, Andre said proudly. Want to see? He led Pete to recovery, where Max was doing his therapy walks. Looking good, buddy. Pete scratched Max's ears. By the way, kid, your spot at the car wash is still open. You know, for when you're not too fancy working at a hospital. Andre laughed. Maybe weekends? When Max is better. Deal. Pete handed him a business card. For the fundraising thing Thompson told me about. My nephew's a website designer. Said he'd help set up an online donation page. Word continued to spread. Mr. Rodriguez brought his grandson's Eagle Scout troop to volunteer. Mrs. Johnson baked cookies for the hospital staff. Even the boys who'd bullied Andre came by to apologize, offering to help with future fundraisers. See what you started? Dr. Thompson said one evening, watching Andre clean kennels. Sometimes it just takes one person willing to fight impossible odds. I didn't do it alone, Andre said, thinking of everyone who'd helped. No, you didn't. Dr. Thompson smiled. That's the whole point. At home, Andre's mom hung his first hospital paycheck on the fridge. Not that you need it now, she said. The fund's covering Max's aftercare. I know. Andre stared at the check. But maybe it can help the next kid who needs it. He put the whole check in the donation box. That night, Andre sat doing homework in Max's recovery area. The dog dozed nearby, his breathing strong and steady. Sarah brought him a hot chocolate. Almost closing time, kiddo. 5 more minutes? Andre asked. We're reading of mice and men in class. I promised Max I'd finish the chapter. She smiled. 5 minutes. Then your mom's picking you up? Yeah, but I'll be back tomorrow. We know? Sarah patted his shoulder. You always come back. After she left, Andre looked at Max, who had opened one eye. You know what, boy? He said softly. I think Dad was right. About the important things in life, not being things at all. Max's tail thumped against his blanket. Yeah, Andre smiled. I think you knew that all along. The morning of Max's discharge dawned clear and bright. Andre had barely slept, too excited about finally bringing his best friend home. Andre Davis, if you check that clock one more time, his mom warned over breakfast. Sorry. He pushed his cereal around. Just 2 more hours. They'd spent the weekend preparing. New dog bed, fresh tennis balls. Even a special ramp Mr. Wilson built to help Max get up the porch steps. Remember what Dr. Martinez said? His mom cautioned. He still needs rest. No running, no jumping. I know. Andre had memorized all the recovery rules. When they finally pulled into the hospital parking lot, Andre spotted something unusual. Why are there so many cars here? The waiting room was packed. Pete from the car wash, Mr. Rodriguez and his grandson's scout troop, Mrs. Johnson holding a cake, even Tommy from school and his family. Surprise! Everyone shouted. Andre's mouth fell open. What's all this? Dr. Thompson emerged from the back. We couldn't let our favorite patient leave without a proper send-off. And, Dr. Martinez added, we have an announcement. She gestured to a new plaque on the wall. Andre stepped closer to read it. The Max Davis Emergency Care Fund, because every best friend deserves a chance, founded 2024. Andre's vision blurred with tears. We've already raised enough to help 3 families, Dr. Thompson said. Plus, Pete's nephew finished the website yesterday. Check it out, Pete said, holding up his phone. The site showed Max's story, with before and after photos. A donation counter at the top already showed over $5,000. That's just from this morning, Sarah said. Words spreading fast. Andre couldn't speak. His mom squeezed his shoulder. Ready to take your friend home? Dr. Martinez asked. They followed her to recovery. Max was already up, wearing a new collar with a small medal attached. Hospital donor tag, Dr. Thompson explained. He's our mascot now. Max's tail wagged as Andre approached. The dog looked different from that first terrible night. His fur had grown back around the surgery sites, and his eyes were bright and alert. Let's go home, boy. Max walked slowly but steadily, using his own strength instead of the support straps. The crowd in the waiting room parted to create a path. Speech, someone called out. Andre looked around at all the faces. The people who'd helped him save his best friend, who'd shown him what community really meant. He swallowed hard. A week ago, I thought I was alone. That being poor meant you couldn't solve big problems. Max pressed against his leg, encouraging him. But you all proved me wrong. You showed me that we're only poor if we think we are. That the richest people aren't the ones with the most money, but the ones with the most friends. His mom wiped her eyes. So thank you. Not just for helping save Max, but for teaching me what my dad always said, that impossible things happen every day if people help each other. Mrs. Johnson started the applause. Soon everyone joined in, including Max with excited barks. All right, Dr. Martinez laughed. Let's not overexcite our patient. People began saying goodbye, patting Max gently and hugging Andre. See you Saturday, Pete said. Both of you, don't forget scout meetings, Mr. Rodriguez's grandson added. We're doing a fundraising badge, and my website needs regular updates, Tommy chimed in. Andre looked at his mom. Guess we need to make a schedule. Already working on it? She held up a new calendar. Your dad would be so proud of how you're managing everything. The drive home felt different from all the worried trips to the hospital. Max sat in the back seat, his head held high, watching his neighborhood pass by. When they pulled up to their house, Andre saw another surprise. A new sign hung over his old lemonade stand spot, Max's Snack Shop. Treats and drinks, all proceeds help other pets in need. The scouts set it up this morning, his mom explained. They'll help run it when you're working at the hospital. Max walked up the ramp to the porch like he'd been practicing for this moment. At the door, he turned to look at Andre. Go on, Andre said. You're home. Inside, Max went straight to his new bed by the window. He settled in carefully, then looked up at Andre with eyes that seemed to say, we did it. Andre sat beside him, running his hand over Max's healed side. You know what, boy? Dad used to say home isn't a place. It's wherever the people you love are. Max's tail thumped in agreement. Andre pulled out his phone and took a picture. Max in his new bed, sunlight making his fur glow, the metal on his collar catching the light. He posted it to the fund's website with a simple caption, Welcome home, Max. Thanks to everyone who helped us find our way back. His mom found them there an hour later, both asleep in the patch of sunlight. She took her own picture, then placed it next to the one of Andre, Max, and his dad from 3 years ago. Different times, same love. Outside, kids were already gathering at the snack stand. Tomorrow, Andre would start his new schedule, school, hospital work, fundraising meetings. But for now, this moment was enough. Max sighed contentedly in his sleep. Andre smiled, remembering his father's words. Son, the biggest miracles don't happen to us. They happen through us. He finally understood what that meant.